Okay, very good. So what we'll do then is we'll go to the next slide and we'll talk about how we're going to have this debrief conversation. So we'll just do it in numerical order, nice and logical. Team number 1, actively engaged. They'll report back to the group. We'll have a spokesperson from team 1 walk us through their list of what is a highly engaged worker on a drywall project likely to say and do. And then we'll do the same for team 2, which is not quite engaged, not quite disengaged. And then team 3, actively disengaged. What does that look and sound like? Does that sound good? Okay, let's start with team number 1. Spokesperson to share with us your list. And Kathy, you can go.
All right. All right, so speaking out for team 1, we felt like this was pretty easy. Somehow it's just like energizing to talk about engaged people. We said that an engaged person, when doing a drywall project, would be really into the teamwork aspects that's so required for a drywall project. They would, be willing to like rely on others, work with others. They would have really positive communication. They'd be looking for more efficient ways to do the project. They would be thinking about the process and planning ahead. They'd be actively coaching others, not just doing the work, but helping others to do the work, especially more junior members of staff or volunteers. They'd be thinking about safety. They'd be being proactive, imagining them filling out near-miss reports and thinking about what can we prevent, what can we do to make this better, safer place tomorrow. They would not be complaining, but instead would be really positive, giving positive feedback and clear instructions to the people they're working with. They would correct for quality. They would refer back to the values. They would say, remember the mom rule, like we want this quality to be really high, or remember, wear your hard hat, you've been working really hard and go get some water. They would ask questions. They would say, how can I help? They would say, while you do this, I'll do this. They would say, do we have enough materials for the project? What do we need later this week? They'd be, thinking ahead and asking those types of questions.
Beautiful. Wonderful list. Does anybody have anything they'd like to add to that very comprehensive list? You can almost see them in action with all of those descriptive words, yeah? Nice job. Thank you, Andrea. Let's go to team 2 to talk about not engaged. Let's get a spokesperson to share with us their group's list.
Hi, so for group 2, we were not engaged. They basically would not be explaining what the drywall's for. They'd be doing the work, but maybe not care about the quality of work. There'd be no constructive discontent. They'd be distracted by technology, maybe listening to their peer rather than leading the group of volunteers. They wouldn't be precise with measurements and possibly put too much joint compound on, so not floating out the seams. And then stuff that they're saying or not saying, so, we're not paid enough to do this. We're not professionals. Is it lunchtime yet? Where are my popsicles? This is good enough. We won't have to be the people to sand it. We did what was asked. Maybe they're not asking how they can improve, and they're only answering questions when they're being asked.
All right. I loved your reference to constructive discontent. When you're working on something and you think, okay, it's all right, it's good, but it could be better. That's constructive discontent, never being quite satisfied with what we're producing. That's when it's a good thing, right? When it's, isn't it good enough? Then that's, I think, a really good way of describing that middle zone. You're not being a total jerk. You're not throwing the hammer down and saying, I'm not going to do this. You're not being obstinate, but you're not going that extra mile. And, sometimes there are some quality concerns that come along with that. Thank you so much, Megan. Now let's talk about the extreme of active disengagement, what that looks and sounds like.
Absolutely. I am going to ask my personal friend Gio to unmute herself and give me like a 3-second drum roll, just because I'm a fan of theatrics. So Gio, please lead me into this discussion with some drum roll. Perfect. All right. So team 3, we are a highly engaged team to talk about actively disengaged persons. So if we're doing drywall on a site, what do these folks look like? If I'm a fly on the wall on this site, some of the things that I might be hearing from these individuals are, I don't care. Why are we doing this? Why should I even keep trying? And that's stupid, right? So if you're also this fly on the wall, you're going to be looking around and you're going to be noticing a few things, some of which is going to be the quality of workmanship is going to be very poor. You're going to see gaps in the drywall. You're going to see a lot of bent nails. And generally the work site may be very messy. You'll also notice that team members are going to be standing around or playing on their phones. So those are some things that you want to keep an eye out for in these actively disengaged folks, which I think we can all reference pretty easy. I think seeing highly engaged and actively disengaged people are very easy. It's that middle road that's very hard for us to sometimes pick up on.
Differentiate. Yeah, it really is. And also, you know, if there are gaps or too much joint compound and what have you, sometimes it's not for lack of engagement, it's just lack of skill. And that makes it even tougher to differentiate. And that's why the manager has to really be observant to figure out, is this your very best work? Or are you capable of much, much better, but you just don't care? So yeah, I think the big distinction for me in the drywall context between not engaged and actively disengaged is the actively disengaged person is going to say, I can't because, you know, the guy didn't come with this yet. Or, well, wait a minute, they said we should do that first. So it's all these sort of excuses about why I am not being effective. Whereas someone who's not engaged would say, yeah, okay, yeah, I'll do that. You know, they'll be a little bit more deferential and make fewer excuses generally. And I'm being very generalistic here. Anything else that anybody wants to talk about before we talk about you and what you can do in the face of this behavior? Okay, let's go. You notice I didn't give you a ton of time, did I? Okay, so here's the price of admission. Has anyone seen this before? This is what Gallup calls Q12. Anybody familiar with it? Feel free to type it in the chat or say something. Okay, so Q12 is this. This is the good news in all of this engagement stuff. Yes, it's your job as a leader. It's my job as a leader to get as much active engagement out of our people as possible. That's the difference between an ineffective manager and a highly effective manager, is how engaged can you get your team. So knowing that, you think, okay, well, can you help me? Because I'm really busy. Well, Gallup said, yeah, I can help you. We've got, you know, annual surveys around the world, 200 million respondents. It boils down to this slide. It's no more complicated. It's 4 categories up a pyramid, and it's 12 actions. And if you can do these, you will statistically create a much higher engagement operating environment. Now, does it mean that you will convert all your people? No. And why is that frustrating? Well, as a leader, we want to just mandate it, right? But this is the one thing people own for themselves. They own their engagement. We as leaders can't make a policy around it. We can't force it. We can't dictate it. We can't do anything. The only thing that we can do is provide a culture and an operating environment in which engagement can thrive. That's it. The rest is up to them. So here's what it looks like. If you look at the base of the pyramid, you can see that the base of any pyramid is the building block, right? The foundation. And that's it answers the question, what do I get from the employee's point of view? And it's the basics. It comes down to the quality of the tools. Do I have the right goals? Do I understand what's expected of me? Knowing that constructive discontent is a value, knowing what that means at SBP, that's kind of the basics around goals and expectations. I have the right materials, the right equipment, the right hard hat. I understand and am briefed on quality and safety basics, right? Also, it extends to information, that I have as much information as I need to do the job you expect me to do. It is the basics. But I tell you what, if you've ever worked for a company where you didn't have a phone that worked, that you kept running out of memory on your computer, that your email wouldn't work for some reason, then you know how crazy making that can be and what an impact that can have on your overall engagement. You know, in a resource constrained environment, sometimes we have to make do with equipment that isn't quite, you know, ideal. So if that's the case, we better be doing other things to make up for the engagement issues that not quite having the right tools to do the right job provides. Any thoughts or questions around that? All right. Now, that part in red, what can I give? That's the employee piece. That's about the employee's ability to make a contribution. A huge, huge correlation is between engagement factor number 3 and productivity. Look at that list. My manager lets me do some of what I do best every day, not every month, every day. My manager recognizes me for good work. My manager cares about me as a person, not just a number. My manager encourages my development. So number 3 correlates the most directly to high engagement. What do you think that speaks to really? Take yourself off mute and let's talk about that.
Hi, this is Giovanna. I wanted to share that for that point specifically, is something that I realized this year, because I used to think that, oh, if I want to help my team develop and grow, I need to focus on what they, you know, what their weaknesses are or areas of growth are, and like give them opportunities to grow there. But then, you know, throughout time, I realized like, wait, if somebody is really good at something, it means that they're doing it well, they're enjoying it probably. It gives them a sense of completion, satisfaction. And that's something that, you know, we all want to feel. So it makes a lot of sense that we want to give them the opportunity to balance out, like, you know, struggling and growing, but also things that you're good at that kind of reinforce your own sense of professional self-esteem.
Beautifully put.
What?
Yeah. Beautifully put, Giovanna. Absolutely. Doing a little bit more, even 10% more of what you already do best, that you take pride in, where you have natural talent, whether it's project planning, whether it's measurement and getting everything lined up perfectly, whether it's communicating and writing things, whatever it is. There is natural talent that causes people to light up and lose track of time because they're in their engagement zone. They're in their strength zone. And when you've done that, think about the things you love to do and do better than 1,000 other people. It might be cooking. It might be working on a car engine. It might be public speaking. Whatever it is that is easy as making toast for you, and other people marvel at how, you know, amazing you are at it and how hard it is for other people. If you could integrate that, got it or you don't, incredible talent into your core job at SBP for even 30 extra minutes a day, imagine how much further we would be toward the SBP mission, right? So that's what that really means. And not all of these 12 things are of equal value. So that letting your people do a little bit more of what they do best every day is, it has an exponential additive effect. So it's more important than some of these other things. So let's also talk about, do I belong here? That's the inclusion piece, right? People volunteer and, you know, apply for jobs at SBP for lots of different reasons. And it's our job to figure out the people side of that. So of those 4 statements in blue, which do you think correlates the strongest to high engagement levels? Best friend at work, coworkers are committed to quality, mission and purpose of the company is clear, or my opinions seem to count. 7, my opinion, yeah. So Giovanna, it is really, really up there, but it's not the highest on that list. Travis says 8, mission and purpose is clear. I mean, obviously they're all important or they wouldn't be on this list. Well, I'm going to take you out of your misery. Surprisingly, it is number 10. It's a surprise, isn't it? And Gallup has had all kinds of grief over best friend at work. Look, this is a workplace. This isn't a place where you get friends. That's what your personal life is for. But what their research revealed is that when you have less than ideal work conditions, you don't quite have the tools and equipment that you really need to do the best job. It's raining, it's cold, some people didn't show up. No matter what is going on, if there is even one person on your crew, in your work group, that you know has your back and loves you for you and understands and gets you, and that you can be vulnerable with, it makes all the difference in the world to your engagement level. Instead of thinking, that's it, I'm going to drop the hammer and go home, it's, I can't wait to tell so-and-so about this. This is hilarious. It's different. Any thoughts? Anything you want to type into chat? So yeah, Rand guessed it right.
I think that one of the, like, I completely get it. And also if you have a best friend at work, work is just more fun, right? And you're more likely to be able to work better with your teammates, et cetera, especially obviously that one good teammate.
Yeah.
But I think that a big part of it as well, it's like I've heard other people tell me that, like, oh, I really don't like my job. Like, they're kind of actively disengaged, but they don't quit because they love their friends at work so much. Yeah. And that's what keeps them there. And
beautifully put.
Their commitment is like, well, I'm going to do this well for my teammate but to make their life easier.
Yeah. Good points, Andrea, in chat. Yeah. It's interesting. It has a multiplier effect on all the rest of them, right? You look at people who, again, work in government. They're working on sanitation trucks with, really smelly, fairly repugnant things that they have to do to make sure the city's clean, right? But when you talk to them and you do a focus group, you find out, oh, it's the crew. It's hilarious. It's the jokes, it's the camaraderie, it's the helping each other get through that day that makes them jump out of bed every day and put on the boots and, and go and do the tough job. And the same thing, I made that comment about the DMV. If you've got a good manager, even if you've got highly repetitive work and people in line and, it feels boring, if you've got really good friends at work and your manager lets you do things that involve your natural talent, you will be way more likely to be highly engaged and go the extra mile and, just really do a number on a customer service. So, it can really happen, but these things have to be in line. Very good. Okay, I'm going to give you the second activity, right? This will be our second activity, and then we'll wrap up and summarize some practices and get you back to your important jobs. If I can get you to go to this next slide, basically, here's what I'm going to do. That bottom navy foundation, let's say that you're able to help your team members understand what's expected of them. They know the goals. They know what really good performance looks like, right? They know what winning is. And you've given them the best tools, the best information they need to be successful, and you're around, you're accessible, okay? Check, we've done that. Now what I'm going to do is put you in 3 teams again. I'm going to put you in the team number 1, team number 2, team number 3. And what you're going to do is you are going to discuss an assigned question that is on your breakout sheet. In this case, you'll see you've got team number 1, team number 2, team number 3, and you're going to brainstorm specific things that you might do as leaders at SBP in response to the question I've given you. All right? So it's a different question depending on what team you're in. So Kathy, I'll leave it to you to throw everybody into their teams